When the hidden camera finally processed its first night of footage, he didn't expect what he would see. The kitchen was quiet, the hum of the refrigerator the only sound. And then she appeared, his wife, smiling, calm, moving with the ease of someone who knew exactly what she was doing. If this story shook you already, make sure to subscribe to Cold Case Secrets, where we uncover the truth behind the world's darkest mysteries. He had installed a camera weeks ago after a strange taste in his tea, the constant fatigue, the unexplained headaches. At first, he had doubted himself. Was it paranoia? Stress? But that night, the footage confirmed every suspicion. She was living a life he had never seen, a life built on secrets. Their marriage had always seemed ordinary to outsiders. They lived in a quiet Midwestern suburb where neighbors waved hello and mailboxes lined the streets in neat rows. From the outside, it was a picture-perfect life. Sunday mornings at church, barbecues on weekends, laughter echoing through the rooms. But the truth had been hidden behind a polished smile and careful words. For months, he had noticed small changes. His morning coffee tasted odd, as if something had been altered. The meals were slightly off-brand, almost metallic. He had shrugged it off, thinking it was his imagination. But then came the headaches, the nausea, the exhaustion that no amount of sleep seemed to cure. Friends suggested stress. Doctors were puzzled. His mind began to turn, slowly realizing that perhaps the danger was not outside the home, but within it. It was the subtle things that raised the alarm. A misplaced pill bottle, an unexplained shopping receipt for ingredients he had never seen her buy, a diary he accidentally glimpsed, filled with entries that hinted at deception and obsession, and finally, the whispers of paranoia that no one else could hear. She smiled at him each morning, but her eyes seemed to glint with something he could not place. Desperate for proof, he had spent weeks setting up the hidden cameras, hoping to catch small signs of the reality of what was happening, something undeniable. And when he played the first night of footage, he saw it all, her movements, her methods, the meticulous care with which she manipulated every detail. She wasn't careless. She was precise, methodical. Every cup of tea, every meal, every interaction carefully orchestrated to hide her true intentions. As he watched, a chill ran down his spine. She wasn't just hiding something minor. She was dangerous. Every moment on the screen revealed a level of planning he had never imagined, and the realization hit him. He had been living with a stranger, someone who had studied his habits, his routines, even his weaknesses. He rewound the footage frame by frame, watching her exact movements. His pulse quickened. The calm in her demeanor, the practiced gestures. It was all part of a plan that now he understood was meant to hurt him. Slowly, insidiously, the poison, the manipulation, the double life all exposed in the quiet glow of his laptop screen. He sat back, heart hammering, staring at the screen as the weight of it settled in. Every smile, every gesture he had trusted had been a lie. The woman he had thought he knew was gone. In her place was someone calculating, someone willing to destroy the life they had built together. And yet, there was more to uncover. Footage from other nights showed meetings, notes, and behaviors he had never anticipated. She had a second life, hidden from him entirely. Friends he had never met. Phone calls he could not trace. Evidence that pointed to actions he could not yet comprehend. As the hours passed, he realized the danger wasn't just psychological. It was real. The sickness, the subtle illnesses, the unexplained fatigue she had been testing, experimenting, learning how far she could push him without detection. And now, with the hidden camera, the truth was undeniable. He knew he had to act. But the deeper he watched, the more he understood that exposing her would not be simple. She was clever, resourceful, and fully aware that someone could be on to her. Every move would need to be calculated. Every step is carefully considered. One wrong move, and the consequences could be devastating. The camera captured it all. Her face, calm and serene, as if nothing was wrong. Yet in her eyes, the husband saw the darkness, the double life, the secrets, the deadly intent. It was proof irrefutable, and yet horrifying to witness. The story was only beginning. The quiet streets outside, the ordinary life of a Midwestern home, hid a secret that was darker, more twisted, and more dangerous than he could have ever imagined. And just as he leaned forward to watch the final clip of that night, the screen went black. The battery had died, leaving him staring into the void, knowing that what it uncovered was only the tip of the iceberg. He spent the following days reviewing every second of footage, analyzing every glance, every movement, every interaction. What had once seemed like a normal domestic life was now a web of calculated deceit. She moved around the house with the practiced ease of someone rehearsed, checking cupboards, rearranging items, even the placement of his medications. Each action, subtle but deliberate, hinted at the double life she had been hiding. Neighbors continued to smile and wave, completely unaware of the storm brewing behind closed doors. To them, she was a perfect wife, polite, attentive, seemingly devoted. Yet behind that facade, the footage told a different story, one of manipulation and control, carefully orchestrated to remain invisible to the outside world. He noticed the small details first. The slight adjustment of a cup, the careful handling of his meals, the occasional phone call she would answer in hushed tones. At first, he thought it might be paranoia, but the evidence was growing, accumulating silently, like snow piling in a quiet winter night. Each day, it became harder to ignore the truth. Then came the notes, tiny slips of paper, tucked into drawers, hidden inside books. On them were instructions, reminders, and records documenting everything she had done. The handwriting was precise, cold, calculated. The realization hit him like a physical blow. She had been keeping track of him, monitoring his reactions, adjusting her methods to ensure he never suspected the truth. The hidden camera, the very device he had installed to protect himself, became his lifeline. Every night, he watched as she continued her routine, each action revealing more of the dark reality he had been living in. The trust he had once held was shattered. The life he had built with her was nothing more than an illusion. He began to feel the weight of isolation. Who could he turn to? Family and friends would never believe him without proof. The police, he feared, might dismiss it as paranoia after all. She was charming, seemingly normal, and careful not to leave evidence in plain sight. The hidden camera was his only witness, and even then, it captured only fragments of the truth. As the days passed, the footage revealed even more disturbing patterns. She was meticulous in her preparation, ensuring that every meal, every drink, every small gesture served her purpose. There was a rhythm to it, a routine that she followed as if rehearsed for an audience that only she knew existed. And in that rhythm, he began to see the danger not just to himself, but to anyone who might get in her way. Despite the fear, he knew he had to continue. Each clip he reviewed brought him closer to understanding the scope of her deception. Every night, he stayed up, eyes glued to the screen, heart pounding with dread and anticipation. He could see the planning, the execution, the care she took to hide her tracks. And with each revelation, the stakes grew higher. The tension reached its peak when he noticed her handling a small vial, carefully pouring its contents into his morning tea. He froze, heart hammering in his chest. This was the proof he had been dreading, the confirmation of his worst fears. She had crossed the line. Her double life was no longer a secret hidden in shadows. It was now fully exposed on his screen. He realized that he was no longer just a husband uncovering a secret. He was a detective in his own home, piecing together a puzzle that could end in tragedy. The footage showed her methods, her meticulous attention to detail, and the chilling calm with which she carried out her plan. She was patient, clever, and utterly ruthless. With the evidence mounting, he knew he had to act. But the question remained, how? Confrontation could be dangerous. One wrong move, one misstep, could put him directly in harm's way. The house that had once been a sanctuary now felt like a trap, every corner hiding the threat he had uncovered on tape. He decided to involve the authorities carefully, collecting and backing up every piece of footage, every note, every indication of her plotting. The hidden camera had captured the reality of his life, proof that could not be denied. And yet, even as he prepared to reveal the truth, he knew the danger was far from over. Late one night, as he reviewed the final clips from that week, he noticed something that made his blood run cold. She was looking directly at a camera he hadn't set up, a small device, almost invisible, hidden in plain sight. She had known all along that she might be watched. She was always one step ahead. The chilling realization settled over him. The woman he thought he knew was not only living a double life, but she was also aware that someone might be onto her, and she had planned accordingly. As he leaned back, heart pounding, the screen flickered and went black. A low battery warning blinked across the corner. The silence of the empty room pressed in, and for the first time, he understood the depth of the danger he faced. The footage had revealed her secrets, but the full truth of the consequences of her actions was still unknown. He sat in the dark, the hum of the refrigerator the only sound, staring at the blank screen. The hidden camera had uncovered a deadly double life, but it also made one thing terrifyingly clear. Nothing about the life he knew would ever be the same again. And then, just as he reached for his phone to call for help, a message appeared on his screen. Not from a friend, not from family, from her. Simply 3 words. I know you're watching. The room seemed to close in, the shadows stretching longer, darker. The hidden camera had revealed the truth, but now it had also marked him. The story was only beginning, and the nightmare was far from over. The next morning, he barely slept. The words on the screen haunted him. I know you're watching. Every sound in the house seemed amplified, every shadow suspicious. He went through his day mechanically, pretending everything was normal, but his mind raced. Who could he trust? Who would believe him if he went to the police? He decided he needed help, but discreetly, carefully. He reached out to a private investigator he had known from years ago, someone reliable, someone who wouldn't judge or dismiss him. The investigator agreed to meet, but only under strict confidentiality. When they convened at a small, out-of-the-way coffee shop, the investigator's face grew serious as he listened. Show me the footage, he said, voice low. Hours later, the small laptop screen replayed the life-altering scenes. Her precision, her care in masking her intentions, the tiny vials, the notes meticulously documenting his habits and reactions. The investigator didn't flinch. He watched silently, taking notes, analyzing every frame. This isn't just manipulation, he finally said. This is premeditated. You're lucky you caught it when you did. The husband felt a chill. She's been poisoning me, isn't she? The investigator nodded, slowly. It looks that way. And from what I can see, she's been preparing for a long time. This is calculated, careful, deadly. Fear gripped him. Every meal, every sip, every routine he had taken for granted a trap, meticulously designed over months, maybe years. And now, the evidence was irrefutable. They devised a plan. The investigator would help him collect all footage, secure backups, and present the findings carefully to law enforcement. But even as they strategized, a nagging thought kept him awake. She knew something was wrong. The message on the screen wasn't a coincidence. She was aware, and she was watching his every move. Back at home, he installed a second hidden camera, this time in a place she would never suspect, the hallway leading to the kitchen where all the critical actions took place. It was a risk, but he needed definitive proof. He had to know the full extent of her deception before anyone could act. The nights that followed were tense and sleepless. Every sound, the creak of a floorboard, the clatter of dishes, made him jump. The cameras recorded everything, capturing not only her movements but the subtle signs of her own anxiety. She was careful, meticulous, but there were moments when she let her guard slip. Small hesitations, fleeting glances, the almost imperceptible frown when she thought no one was watching. Then one night, the ultimate breakthrough. The footage showed her pouring something into his drink carefully, precise, as always, and then removing a hidden envelope from her coat pocket. In it were notes, contact numbers, and instructions that suggested she was not acting alone. Someone, somewhere, was aiding her. The depth of the betrayal widened. It was no longer just a domestic deception. It was conspiracy, hidden in plain sight, and he was trapped in the middle. He called the investigator immediately. "You need to see this," he said, voice trembling. Together, they watched the footage again, frame by frame, documenting every action. The investigator's expression darkened. This isn't just poisoning. There's a pattern here: calculated exposure, concealment, and A contingency plan in case you caught on. She's smart, dangerous, and fully aware of the law. A plan was formed. They would take the footage to the authorities, but cautiously. Any misstep could tip her off, endangering not just him but anyone involved in the investigation. And then it happened. The husband received an anonymous text on his phone. Simple and chilling. Stop digging, or you'll regret it. Fear turned into dread. She had known all along that someone might be watching. Someone might be gathering evidence. Her warning wasn't empty. It was a threat. And yet, he knew there was no turning back. The truth needed to be revealed. As he prepared the evidence for delivery, he noticed a detail he had missed. The hidden camera he installed in the hallway had captured a faint shadow in the corner of the frame. Someone else had been in the house that night. A visitor, a conspirator. His pulse quickened. He rewound the footage, enhancing it frame by frame. The figure was quick, fleeting, almost invisible but unmistakable. Someone was helping her, and he had just caught a glimpse. The realization left him reeling. The danger was larger than he had imagined. This was no longer just a case of a double life or domestic betrayal. It was a carefully orchestrated operation, and he had just scratched the surface. As the week wore on, he arranged a secret meeting with the authorities, armed with all the footage and documentation. But as he approached the agreed location, he noticed her car parked 2 blocks away, engine running, watching. He froze, realizing the full scope of the danger. She was always one step ahead. The story, which had begun with small signs and suspicions, had escalated into a high-stakes game of cat and mouse. Every move was being monitored, every action weighed carefully. And yet, he had the hidden camera. He had the proof. But would it be enough? As he entered the meeting place, a sudden shiver ran down his spine. His phone buzzed again. Another message, chillingly simple. I see everything. Always. The hidden camera had exposed her secrets. The authorities had the evidence. Yet, the husband knew one terrifying fact. The true extent of her plan and the people she involved remained unknown. The house that once felt safe had become a battleground. The life he knew irreversibly shattered. And as he glanced at the laptop where the hidden footage continued to record, he realized something even more horrifying. She had planned for this moment all along. The revelation was coming, and it would change everything. To be continued. Thanks for watching Cold Case Secrets.